We're closing in on the 1-year anniversary for Counter-Strike 2 and I wasn't around before, so I couldn't voice my opinion on the subject. Hey, good thing I'm here now. We're gonna talk about different aspects of the game, what is good, and express the ever-growing frustration with me and Valve. So we're gonna start with the good sides, and then I will open the valve and release whatever pressure I've been holding back on for so long. This video is brought to you by Skinsmonkey, an easy-to-use trading site, and here's how it works. I have this open, I'm not gonna lie, it looks like garbage. It's even worse in game. So lucky me, I go on Skinsmonkey, put it on the balance, and I can trade with any other skins I see here. If I need to add more balance, I will put in the code Jeff to get an extra 5% on top of the usual 30%. And with the first trade bonus, the more you trade, the more cashback you get. It's an easy way for you to change your skins and play with something fresh. Have a look at the freebies tab to get in giveaways and tasks, and if you're interested, you know where to find the link, right? As you may know, I'm a Counter-Strike veteran and I have spent night and days playing different iterations of the franchise. And I've got to say, Counter-Strike has a unique formula that I still haven't seen in any other game. A change that might seem insignificant to the untrained eye turned out to be quite big in how the rounds are being played, that is the new smokes. Do you remember the CSGO smokes, that weird inconsistent grey mess the map was filled with one-ways? And I don't mean perspective one-ways where it's obvious, I mean the invisible John Cena type of one-ways. Be honest, the smokes in CSGO were terrible, both defensive and aggressive, the fades were unreliable, you would never know what to expect. In CS2, it's totally different. That invisible one-way mechanic is gone for a better, more readable and constant volumetric smoke. You can shoot through, make some little gaps with the bullets, and better yet, you can blow it with a nade. That coupled with the removal of skyboxes, that invisible wall making it impossible to throw smokes in some places, and it's a really good change. Obviously, CS2 looks better than CSGO, no really big surprise, CSGO was like what, 10 years old or something, so obviously it's gonna look better. It is brighter, much brighter, so much so that looking back on the clips of CSGO makes it look like it's a generational gap. Now, Counter-Strike is a shooter, so what about the shooting mechanics? That's where it becomes blurred. The general idea seems to be that it got easier, more forgiving, thus making it worse. You're gonna get killed behind cover, sometimes shot by running enemies, and that is something I've been experiencing as well. Definitely frustrating, but it is hard to give you a proper response without the data to back it. I don't know if it's coming from the network issues, counter-strafing being forgiving, server acting up, bad connections, subtics, I don't know. And I also think the state of the game isn't final anyway, but for some reason Valve takes forever to either act on it or communicate about it. Without being able to properly word it, I'll agree on saying that it felt like CSGO was more crisp, more responsive. But I'm very much unable to explain where this feeling comes from, so for that part we'll have to wait a bit more and see how it evolves. I've always said this, the biggest problem of CSGO was never the game itself, but the conditions in which you would play the game. The teammates, the server, the balance, and the anti-cheat. So when CS2 got announced, I was expecting Valve to actually step up. Undeniably, CSGO was a mess. But maybe it was a mess because the old engine was untweakable and an old spaghetti code, and CS2 would be built on a new engine bringing new possibilities. You know, I had hope. Oh boy, was I wrong! This is where I hold my biggest grudge against Valve, because it's 2024, damn it, it's just not acceptable. Let me explain. In CSGO, at times I would be unable to play a single match for entire weeks. I would find myself in lobbies with 9 cheaters, you know, out of 10 players, I was the only one not cheating. And hear me out, we're not talking about the small aim correction to get the competitive edge. We are talking about full Beyblades spinning around, shooting through every walls with auto bunny hop and all the gear. These guys are playing a modded version of CSGO, and yet they wouldn't get banned. But hey, that was before. CS2 is a new dawn, CS2 is a new day. Not. It's actually even worse in CS2. I have gone through all the stages of grief on this one. It's just incredible, so I need to vent a little bit. Listen, I understand that catching cheaters is a cat and mouse game, and I understand that the discreet ones will be hard to catch. You know, that's fair. So how discreet is this one exactly? Out of 100 matches I've played, I've had 70 matches with at least one of these. Sometimes you have 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, good times. And I don't even care about the elo, but I do care about the time I am wasting. They don't queue alone, so we can't vote kick them. We can't team kill them either, because then we will get banned, and if we leave, we're also the ones who will get a timeout. So in the end, we are just trapped here. And we have no options but to wait it out, and it's incredibly frustrating. Moreover, when this thing has been ongoing for fucking forever. My lobbies are filled with fresh new accounts, and already in the warm-up we see them and we already know what's gonna happen. Pin botting every round, doing the most obvious things, getting 5 kills, headshots, no scopes, through smokes, through walls, whatever. Look at this one, 84 frags, only headshots and mullbangs, that should be a red flag. Somehow it's not. It's ridiculous. I've even met cheaters able to shoot across the map from city spawn to T-spawn, and better yet, they can actually bypass the fire rate of the weapons. They're playing with superpowers for fuck's sake, and that doesn't raise any flags. We're talking about no scopes through the maps with a faster firing rate than the weapon was coded with, and that still doesn't trigger anything, no red flag, nothing. It's even recorded on the Go TVs. Look at how fast he's firing. That makes no sense. Valve, you have the data. You just don't do anything with it. This is pathetic. The leaderboard is filled with cheaters, and it's impossible to get there without cheating. They would even promote their cheats in their name on the leaderboard, and you would still do nothing about it. Now look, as I'm recording this, meet the top 1 leaderboard. So this is, at the time I'm recording this, the best ranked CS2 player, and he's queuing with the top 2 and the top 9. And you know what, better yet, he's got an expensive inventory because he just knows damn well he's not gonna get any trouble. This is nothing but a big fuck you to the player base and to you, Valve. There's no other words, it's an embarrassment and it's pathetic. Leaving the game in that state for more than a year now really proves you don't deserve the Counter-Strike franchise. Actually, as I was editing this video, I posted his gameplay on Twitter and it got some attention. Sadly, our friend is now, according to him, manually banned, but it turns out he's a Sigma, the grind never stops because he's already back at it. For those of you who will say, lol, just play Face It, stop crying, don't forget, you live in a bubble and you represent at best 5% of the player base. Do you really think casual players who play maybe 2-3 games a week will go through the hassle of creating an account on a website, then downloading a third-party client giving them full access to their PC, and only then play on the website instead of the game itself? Not to mention, Face It has its own issues as well. No, they won't. They will just move on and play something else. In my case, I play with friends from all levels. Some are genuinely silver and we just want to hop in a game, mess around and have some fun, you know, win, lose, doesn't really matter. We just want to enjoy our time, but you know what? Of course, they stopped playing now, there's no point. When CS2 was announced, do you remember the hype that was created? Do you remember how much excitement was around? It all died with the realization that we are getting the same BS as we had in CSGO, only this time it looks better. Now, second part of my pointless rant. Let's talk about the matchmaking. So, the matchmaking system is here to matchmake. It is responsible to find you a match as balanced as possible within a reasonable queuing time. With CS2 was announced a brand new queue called Premier. Honestly, looks like a banger. Premier begins with a map veto and determines an elo that will rank you globally. There's also a leaderboard with your name being displayed as the best CS player if you are a great talent like our friend from before and you make it to top 1. I mean, that aside, it's actually great. It gives you a reason to grind and to re-queue in Premier, and this is a nice addition on paper. And if you don't want to play Premier, you can play competitive, where you get to choose the map and there's an individual rank for each map using the same old ranking system of CSGO. Essentially, this feels like unranked. Now let me ask you, you download Counter-Strike 2 and you want to play a game. Which one are you going to play? Well, you're gonna play Premier, of course, because there's an elo and that's the ranked queue. So naturally, Premier became the most played mode, as you would expect. Well, everyone would expect it, but Valve somehow. In an interview to GamerPC, Valve said, Premier Matchmaking is now the most popular mode in Counter-Strike, which we didn't predict. How? How couldn't you predict this? I genuinely don't understand how you couldn't predict that this game mode, which you used as a promotion material for the release by the way, would become the most played. It's more than just obvious. I don't have the words to express how obvious it is. And now I seriously have to ask, if you didn't think Premier would be the most played, that means you didn't really work on it too much, which would explain why it's actually so bad, why you keep on matching 5 stacks versus solos, and why your queue isn't able to do simple math. I mean, think about those 2 lads right there, you know, casually queuing, thinking they're gonna have fun, and you put them in this lobby somehow. It is just bad. And mind you, that's not an exception. The matchmaking algorithm is genuinely bad. I have countless examples of that. So, Valve, if you didn't work on Premier, what else did you work on? The other queue, the competitive queue, is terrible as well, and the ranking system is also a disaster. It's been a year and no one was even able to reach the highest ranks in competitive mode. Valve, what have you been working on then? You actually removed game modes that were in CSGO, so if you thought Premier wouldn't be the most played, that means you must have worked on something else, knowing that it would be used as the primary queue, right? Surely you know that a solid matchmaking system is needed for the player base, so which one is it? Which one did you work on to offer a decent experience to the players? Do you understand my frustration? It's way below standards for a competitive game in 2024, and yet again another embarrassment. The matchmaking of CS2 is a total miss, and the only reason the regular and more experienced players stick around is thanks to Faceit and third parties in general. Do you even realize how crazy it is that your regular player base only sticks around thanks to a lifeline thrown by another company because of how bad you are allowing your own service to get? It's pathetic.
Actually, I believe the loadout system is pretty good and adds a layer of in-depth complexity to the game.
Said no one ever. The loadout system is pointless. The only difference it makes is I'm unable to buy weird guns to mess around whenever I want to, and that's it. So as a conclusion, I believe Counter-Strike is currently being carried by the esports side, and the numbers are inflated by bots farmings and the skin economy in general. We have a lot of companies feeding the gaping holes left by Valve, and if you look at it from the content perspective, it definitely feels like there's more esport than Counter-Strike content per se. I had hope it would happen differently, but by now it's become clear that there's only two scenarios. Either Valve is incredibly incompetent and they keep on taking the wrong decisions, but without bad spirits, or they are very well competent and able to, but decide not to use it on Counter-Strike, because regardless, they don't need to. Because don't get me wrong, I call CS2 a failure, but from a business perspective, it's not. Counter-Strike is a cash printing cow for Valve, and with little to no effort that is, they are printing hundreds of millions. With the skin economy and the fact that half of you are gambling degens who keep on asking for more options to gamble, there's no doubt it will carry on for years. So you know what? Why bother? The point of a business is to make money. They are printing a lot of it right now. Thus, it's a successful business as it already is. Whenever I see conversations about CS, there's always a sense of hopelessness coming with it, and I wish it wasn't the case. But for fuck's sake, it's been 10 years now of dealing with this every day. Of course that's gonna happen, and even for me, it is supposed to be my job, yet I would rather not win any money than having to play Premier right now. And that's why this will be the last time I ever address the subject. I've realized it's madness. You can go back on this channel and you will find roughly the same videos already being made 10 years ago. 10 years ago, a younger version of me was already rambling on and losing energy trying to talk sense into Valve. Sure, my English was pretty bad, still is to be honest, but the situation was the same. And yeah, I might sound negative, but I don't have it in me to wait for another 10 years praying on my knees hoping Master Valve finally gives me a few crumbles of decency. So in conclusion, CS2, much like CSGO, is a great game, but it's being held in the wrong hands and it sucks. The launch of CS2 is the biggest fumble I've ever seen. We've missed a huge opportunity to ride the wave and open the game to new players. And the worst part is that I still have hidden somewhere deep inside of me some kind of twisted hope that it was all part of a plan that will eventually, something big's gonna happen, the game's gonna get fixed, but hey, maybe we're gonna get a new sticker capsule or keychains. Who knows? There you go, that's the end of my rant now. I guess you can tell I've been accumulating that stuff for quite some time, and I have. Now I can only hope Valve proves me wrong in the future, because I would be very happy to be wrong on this one. Thank you for watching, and poster check.